Hello, my name is Gray,
And my name is Crystal.
and this is Bust the Asian Beauties, a supernatural commentary podcast where I, someone who has seen the show several times,
And I, someone who only knows the show through social media, discuss every single episode of Supernatural from start to finish. Also, we are both Asian.
both Asian. So today's episode, we will be discussing Season 1, Episode 4, Phantom Traveler.
Yes.
So, Crystal, what were your preconceived notions of this episode?
Okay, so the things I knew about this episode was that it was a case involving a demon on a plane. So I guess like the first introduction of demons in the supernatural universe. I know that this is the episode where we learn that demons like react to the name. Well, I thought it was pronounced Christo, but I think the correct Latin pronunciation is Cristo. And also that we learn that Dean has a fear of flying in this episode. So yeah, I guess I just assumed they were gonna go on a plane, Dean would be scared, and they would exorcise a demon. And I was right.
That is exactly what happened. So we fake open in a beach with
Mhm.
beach music, like tropical, whatever. But it's not actually a beach, it's an airport. And we follow a man as he goes to a bathroom. He's obviously nervous, he's a nervous flyer. And we discover this through some banter with a guy who tells him immediately what the chances of a plane crash are, which is absolutely not comforting
mean,
at all.
I
I
would
don't know
find
why
it
he did that.
comforting.
Yeah, because you're a math you're a math
I suppose.
person. So the guy's washing his face, I
Mhm.
think. And then this weird black particled smoke
Yeah.
is the best way I could describe it. Comes out of the vents and enters this guy's eyes. So we go to the plane where the pilot is talking to a flight attendant, Amanda.
Is that how demons usually enter people? Like, I always thought they entered through the mouth just because they leave through the mouth.
Through the mouth. Yeah.
But,
I think the lore here is
yeah.
still a bit different. Like, they still haven't settled on what to do. Because later on, the demon
I
escapes through
think
the mouth,
so.
right? So maybe they thought, like, oh, that's
Yeah.
better visually. We
Though
should do
I
that
like
next
the
time.
eyes thing because, you know, like the signifier of a demon is the black eyes, so it's cool to see the black cloud go into the eyes.
So the man enters the plane and we see his black eyes, which freaks Amanda out. But she's like, oh, it's fine. I probably just saw things. So we're on the plane, right? And it's been flying for 40 minutes now. The man who got possessed stands up and goes to the emergency exit. And some guy on the plane was like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? And then he opens the emergency exit, which causes the plane to crash.
The door goes like flying off, the air pressure's all screwed up, and almost everyone dies. Next, we enter Dean and Sam's motel room, where we get the world famous Jackal's ass equation shot.
I was gonna ask you if you know about that. I mean,
I
I guess
know
you were
about
on
it.
Tumblr for a while, so you know about
Are we
it.
really gonna reveal that about ourselves?
I think it's time. I think if they've
Yeah.
listened to 3 episodes, it's time to reveal.
Yeah, they probably got here through being one of our mutuals. Hi, besties. So
Hello, besties. The Ackles ass equation is so famous. Like, do you know how many notes that post has? It has a super wiki page.
ouch. Oh, it has 185,240 notes.
Yeah, that post breach containment.
Right. For people who don't know, basically the shot is of like Dean lying like on his stomach in bed. And then someone on Tumblr decided to like find a math equation that graphs the curvature of his like back and then his ass, and that is the Ackles ass equation. So yeah, so that's the shot that we open on in the motel room. And then we see Sam coming in We get another fairly horny shot of Dean's bare foot, like, from a weird angle. Did you notice that?
The one where he's looking at Sam.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't notice his feet. I noticed his legs though, because they were very out there.
Right, right. No, it was an interesting shot, I must say.
It's fan service.
It's fan service. Yeah, I mean, they got the pretty boy soap opera star to, like, be their macho man, like, they have to, like, do something
But
about that, I
like,
suppose.
I suppose the targeted audience during this time was like men, right? So who were they fan servicing?
Yeah, the target audience was men, but I guess perhaps
If you were like
they
the girlfriend who's
yeah, they
watching
were
with
like
your
yeah,
boyfriend.
exactly. Exactly, on date night, a little something for them. So they talk about how Sam has not been sleeping recently, because he's been having nightmares about Jess. So we finally bring that plotline back up after totally forgetting about it in Dead in the Water. Um, and Sam says that, yeah, he's, like, still traumatized over Jess, and also he finds hunting quite upsetting in general, and asks Dean how he feels, and Dean says that he's basically never afraid, which, is a setup for the cute little, "Ooh, Dean's scared of flying" thing later in this episode.
Yeah.
Um,
Also, like, because before that, Dean says that, right, that like you can't bring it home like that, which I thought was
mhm.
an interesting line because later, like in season 10, he has pretty much the same conversation with Cass.
Huh.
And then Cass asks him, this is the famous diner scene, the diner date
Oh,
scene. Like, Cass
yeah.
asks him, like, do you follow that advice? And Dean says, no, but I'm no role model.
Right, and then Cass says the world's most ridiculous line
Yeah.
after that, but we don't have to get into it.
No. Um, so at that point in season 10, he's self-aware that like he's saying this, but he's not actually following it. Do you think like in season 1, he's already self-aware or he's just lying to himself?
Well, I mean, this follows directly from when we find out that he tells himself to be brave every day because he thinks Mary wants him to be. So, I feel like he's aware that he experiences a lot of fear through hunting, but he's just in the mode of like, push it down because my mom would want me to be brave.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, no, it's very sad that he says, like, you can't take it home with you because, like, home is typically one's family, but this is the family business. Like, what is the separation between hunting and home for him? Especially since he has no, like, fixed place to live. Poor
Yeah,
guy.
poor guy. Wow, we're experiencing crystal empathy for Dean.
I. Mm, this also applies to Sam, though. Poor Sam.
Poor guys.
Poor guys. Sam responds to Dean's claim of not being scared by bringing out the knife under Dean's pillow, but Dean says that's not fear, that's precaution. And then Dean gets a call.
So the call is from a guy called Jerry Panowski.
Mm-hmm.
And the next scene is Jerry, Sam, and Dean walking towards what I presume is Jerry's office in like wherever he's working. He looks like he's working in a weird factory situation for planes. We're not really clear on that, but
Yeah, I think it's like airport related.
yeah, I don't
Cause like he
know.
later says like that the pilot is like someone who like works for him. I don't, it might not be a factory, it might just be like where the planes are stored before they go off to fly.
Jerry mentions to Sam that Dean helped him out with a poltergeist. And then
Mm,
some rando in the factory, I guess, goes, Poltergeist? I love that movie. Which
so true. I haven't
I
seen it though.
haven't seen it as well, but I just find so funny like the amount of times they do like some rando talking bit
Right. Yeah,
in
no,
this
they're really trying
episode.
to emphasize the whole like the world doesn't know about the supernatural. Look at all these
Yeah.
people going about their days, whereas our brave heroes have to deal with Demon.
So Jerry says to Dean that if it wasn't for him and John, he won't be alive today, which I guess is supposed to show us that like hunting does
Hunting is
good.
good. It's so good.
Yeah.
We love it. No problems.
No problems at all. And then Jerry mentions that John is oh so proud of our little Sammy for going off to college, which Sam doesn't believe at first, but Jerry insists that it's true. So
Yeah. Ouch. Sam
yeah,
and John is what I'm sensitive about. Ouch.
I know. I was wondering here, like, what do you think Sam felt?
Um, I mean, this whole time they've been looking for their dad, so I guess the whole time Sam has probably been very worried about John and also possibly regretting their last conversation, because it might have been the last conversation they ever had. There's probably just like a combination of like, oh God, he actually cared about me, and like probably like anger about how like he'll like say nice things about Sam to other people, but wasn't
Not to
willing to
him.
give that love to Sam and reach out. It could be more of a like, oh, like I don't think he was actually proud of me. I think he was just like putting on airs or whatever to pretend to be a good dad. I don't know how Sam feels. Yeah.
I love this entire Jerry walking to the office bit, by the way. I thought the dialogue was pretty natural and
Mm.
like it was very good exposition. Like it felt like it was building up to something that we're not gonna resolve this episode, but like it's building up to something, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And when Jerry asks where John is, Dean was like, he's wrapped up in a job, and then cracks a
Mm.
joke that like, we don't get the old man, but we get Sammy here, so it's a fair trade. And I was like, that's like how people speak, you know? Like
Yeah.
it felt very good to hear a natural conversation. Especially because like the last two episodes, we have these like women that are
Who make no sense.
yeah, like they're there to be flirted at. So having
Mhm.
Jerry, like not to be like a misogynist, I guess.
Gray misogyny count 1.
No, but like having like even Amanda, they don't flirt with Amanda.
Yeah, no, I did appreciate that. Like this whole episode, I was waiting for a Dean misogyny, and I was like, oh my God, we got one episode without one.
Yeah, it's one. So this episode is the misogyny moment free. I enjoyed it. So like I enjoy genuine conversations with people that isn't
Mhm.
ladled with like romantic or sexual favors.
Yeah, no, it was nice. I guess they probably realized they were going way too heavy on that in episodes 2 and 3 and decided to dial it back a little. So they make it to Jerry's office. He shows them the cockpit voice recorder for the flight that we saw that crashed. And he also tells us about the pilot, Chuck, who's a friend of his, who he thinks is not to blame for the crash. Sam and Dean ask about like the wreckage of the flight for them to look through. Jerry tells them that that's like on lockdown, but he can give them the list of passengers and a list of survivors. Oh, right, there were 7 survivors. That's important. Next, we go to like a place to make copies, and we have the one obligatory writer misogyny moment per episode.
Yeah, but
Um,
it's like,
it's not
it's
that
just a
bad.
girl
Yes.
saying hi, and then Dean's
Yeah,
like, hi back. So, like, it's
right.
fine.
And Sam mentions that Dean's been taking a real long time with those copies, presumably because he was in there flirting or something. Yeah, so then we see that Dean has made them 2 fake Homeland Security IDs, which Sam says is pretty illegal. And then Dean says, yeah, well, it's something new. People haven't seen it 1,000 times, which, like, made me recall that, like, Homeland Security started in, like, 2001 as a result of 9/11. So, in
9/11,
fact, has
yeah.
only been around for 4 years by the time this episode was made, which, yeah, is kind of wild. But, yeah.
I guess this episode is kind
The
of,
specter of 9/11 definitely floats over this episode a lot.
yeah. Like, especially later on when they were
Yeah.
like, who knows how many planes demons crashed? I
Right,
was
like they were like, were they implying
the
that
9/11 was
the
caused by
9/11 was
demons?
demon caused? Like, they steered clear of actually saying anything like that, but like, especially in 2005, where they're posing as Homeland Security agents, like, everyone's gonna be thinking it. So Sam replays the voice recorder for Dean, which like they've edited, I guess, to like find EVP, whatever that means.
This sounds
Right.
like something I could do in Audacity. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like what? I want to know the exact method that they use to get EVP out of something,
Yeah.
and like why they're the only ones who can do it.
Yeah, like apparently like nobody else inspecting like what happened with the flight has found this voice, but I guess Sam and Dean have, and the voice says no survivors, which they're confused about because there were 7 survivors. So the two of them think that this is probably a ghost haunting a plane, like a phantom traveler, which is where the episode title comes from. And they talk about previous plane crashes that happened because of ghosts. I don't know if the things they talk about are like real plane crashes that happened in real life. I hope not, because it seems very insensitive to be like, this
Yeah.
actual crash where people actually died was because of a ghost.
Which I guess is also why they didn't explicitly say 9/11.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, no. Can
That
you
would be
imagine?
very insensitive.
Yep, bad idea. Bad idea. So they're looking through the list of survivors to decide who to interview, and they decide to interview Max Jaffe, because he checked himself into a psychiatric hospital, so they assume that he definitely saw something weird.
Yes. So they go to talk to Max while wearing the most not Homeland Security clothes of all time. They're
Yeah.
literally just wearing jeans and like a leather jacket. Max says that he checked himself into the psych hospital because he saw a man with black eyes open the emergency exit, which is impossible according to his research. And I am just the reveal of this information was so anticlimactic because we already know it.
Yeah, we saw it already. Yeah, like they
Yeah,
spend so much
but like
time trying to
the
get it out of
music
Max, like I get it.
swells, the music swells, and like it's like a long time before he actually reveals what he knows, what he saw. And it's like, why are we doing this? We already know this. And it goes for the rest of the episode as well. There are so many scenes that are like this. Like, we already know this. Why are we hanging around?
I don't know. I guess they just needed to fill up 45 minutes.
So Sam asks Max if he thinks he saw an apparition or someone flickering in and out. And Max was like, "Are you nuts?" Which is, you know, are you nuts? I saw like an actual human person. He was a passenger in front of me. And so Sam and Dean inspect who this passenger was and go to his house.
Yeah, so turns out that that guy was named George Phelps, and he died, which makes sense because we saw him fly out of the plane and splat. Yeah, so Sam and Dean discuss the information. They know that it was definitely not a real person, so they think maybe he was a creature. And they interview his wife, and find out that this guy was like totally normal, a dentist, nothing weird about him. So they decide that, yeah, he was probably not a creature, so it is time to check out the wreckage of the plane. And then Sam says if we're gonna go that route, we'd better look the part. And we go to a suit shop with a music drop.
So they go to the suit shop and there's a dressing up music and it's super fun. And then Dean says that he looks like the Blues Brothers. And Sam's like, "You look like a 7th grader." And then Dean's like, "Oh, I hate this suit," etc., etc. But
And it's
they
all very
proceed.
sad because we know that in the future They will just be wearing their stupid suits all the time on every
I
case.
know. I was like, you will, Dean. You will like it. Eventually.
So sad.
So they go to the evidence warehouse where Dean is walking around with an EMF meter, which Sam comments upon by saying, like, why does that one look like a busted up Walkman? And Dean does his very famous, like, it's
Yeah.
homemade. I made it myself. And Sam's little bitchy, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah,
Which is
I've seen this
so
named as a
mean.
top Sam homophobia moment, which, like, honestly, I get it. I get it. It did make me a little upset at Sam, even if all bullying of Dean is good.
So they reach the emergency door handle, which has a lot of EMFs going on. And Dean notices a substance on the handle and scratches some of it out, wondering what it is. So Sam gets out a knife and actually takes a sample of the thing. And
Mm.
did you catch the scene where Dean wipes his hand on Sam's shoulder and Sam's like, "Oh, what are you doing?"
I
with his
did not
face.
catch that, but that's extremely siblings.
Yeah, exactly.
So, then we go back to the office where they entered, and two actual Homeland Security, like, agents show up, and the security guard there is like, that's weird, like, two of y'all, like, went in already, and then they were like, everyone's like, oh no, those were fakes, and they come rushing in with their guns, but Sam and Dean have escaped by now. They all climb over a very tall fence, like, impressive that they can jump that high.
Yeah, I think it was stunt doubles. What
Oh,
do you think?
absolutely, it was
Because
stunt
like
doubles.
it was near the camera was near them, and then it pans like really far away,
Yeah,
and
no,
then it goes back to them when they jump down, and I was like, oh, those are definitely stunt doubles.
absolutely. Good for you, whoever your names are. You can jump really good.
It was actually a barbed fence, and Dean throws his jacket over the
Yeah,
barbed area so as
yeah,
to
so they
not prick
don't get,
himself, but
yeah.
Sam doesn't, and he just jumps over because I guess he's hard as nails.
Yeah. Sam's just a brave little boy. He's getting ready for his century of torture in hell.
Poor
Okay.
Sam.
Yeah, poor Sam.
Okay, so we go to Chuck the pilot who survived the plane crash. And he's getting a pep talk from some guy, I guess a co-pilot. And he's gonna be flying a twin engine today. I say as if I know what a twin engine is.
Yeah,
But
it seems like a quite
basically,
small plane.
yeah, a small plane, right? He's very nervous. So we see like black particle smoke uh from earlier and it enters his eyes. And then he becomes like a jolly little guy.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Chuck, oh, Chuck. Oh, I just realized the significance of his name being Chuck. I guess they didn't know what they were gonna do yet with the name Chuck.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
I think I didn't write it down as like something significant. I was just like
Yeah.
they just chose a name.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
just chose a name. Yeah, so now we're back at Jerry's office, and he's looking at the sample Sam took through a microscope, and they find out that it is sulfur, which makes Sam and Dean understand that this was the result of demonic possession. I guess I do want to comment on, okay, so Sam asked, like, you ever heard of something like this before? And Dean says never, because, like, apparently usually when demons possess people, they're just like chill about it. I don't know. It's like, yeah, the demon lore has not been established yet in season one. I think it's interesting that, like, apparently all these demons, like, don't even try to murder people. Like, this is the first demon murderer they've encountered.
So Chuck the pilot is now possessed and he's flying the twin engine plane with his co-pilot. He's very cheery and then he asks the co-pilot like how many minutes are we on air? And the co-pilot says 40 minutes. And he's like, "Oh, that's cool. Time flies when you're having fun." And then he smacks the co-pilot. Well, not smack kiss, like a smack with his hand. And then he dives the plane down into a field in Nazareth.
Yeah.
The
What
plane
I want to
crashes.
know is, like, why, like, if this, like, we find out later that this demon is, like, really into the crashing the plane at 40 minutes thing. Like, why doesn't he just, like, get a watch? Like, whatever. Like, just, like, why do you have to keep asking? Oh, well.
Also, like, I'm pretty sure there's like a timer in the
Yeah, like, I'm
cockpit.
sure
Like,
they could, like,
shouldn't there
look
be?
somewhere. Yeah, like, I don't think that he's asked. Also, both times the people say, like, about 40 minutes, which is not necessarily exactly 40 minutes, but, you know, whatever. Ugh.
Yeah. Well, we as the audience, we need to know. So
Yeah, I suppose
that's
so.
the reasoning behind that.
Yeah, so now Sam and Dean are researching demons in the hotel. Okay, so then Sam says every religion in every world culture has the concept of demons and demonic possession. Are you sure, Sam? Are you sure?
I was like,
Every
those are big
religion
words,
in
Sammy.
every
You
world culture? Like, do you have a list of every single religion? Like, what are we going off of here, Sam? Because I don't think that's true.
It's funny because he says every religion, every culture, and then he names like Christianity, Hinduism, name it. And I was like, those are two religions, Sammy.
Yeah. Oh, Sam. Right. And then Sam mentions that apparently that there are Japanese beliefs that demons are behind certain disasters. So perhaps this is like the demon of plane crashes. And then they have their conversation. Yeah, they asked how many, who knows how many planes brought down before this one.
Dun dun dun
9/11
dun.
was caused by demons. What? Yeah, and then both of them are kind of nervous about this. Dean says, I wish Dad was here, and Sam says, yeah, me too. Which I guess implies that the information about John being proud of him has softened him towards John a little bit.
Yeah, maybe. I thought of this as more just like he's just being, like supportive of Dean, wishing that Dad was
Yeah.
here.
Or it could be more of a like, yeah, I too wish that Dad was here so that I could be done with this whole finding Dad trip. And then Dean gets a call from Jerry and they find out, well, I guess, yeah, he tells Dean that Chuck died, which we already knew, and that it crashed near Nazareth. Dean says, I'll try to ignore the irony in that. Not
And
nice.
Jerry's like, I'm sorry.
So then they head to Nazareth.
And they collect evidence, which they bring back to Jerry, and they discover it's sulfur again. Which I was like, why does Jerry have a microscope in his office?
Yeah, like what is Jerry's job? Like what's happening?
It's fancy too. It's a fancy microscope. It's attached to a TV.
Also, can you see that something's sulfur under a microscope? Like
I have no idea. The last time I watched this episode was last year, and I had to ask the Discord server,
Oh
like,
yeah, I
is anyone
remember
here
now.
a STEM major? Is anyone here a STEM major? Because I need to ask something.
Yeah.
And we couldn't figure it out.
If someone listening is a STEM major, please email us and tell us if you can see sulfur under a microscope or tell that
Or
something's
like if
sulfur
you
under a
can
microscope.
recognize it as sulfur, right? And also Dean was like, Jerry was like, you guys can have a look, and then Dean does, and like, Dean, what are you
Yeah,
what are
like
you
Dean,
doing?
what are you gonna see? You're not gonna see the number of protons in every single atom of this substance.
Yeah. Maybe like I suppose it's crystallized, right? So
Oh,
the
so maybe the
crystal
structure?
formation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I can see that.
But like a microscope? In a regular microscope, you can see crystal structure? Maybe. I don't know. I actually don't know.
Email us.
Email us. So they figure out the 40-minute rule that like the plane crashes after 40 minutes, which again we already know. So this is like repetitive information. And Sam finds other flights that went down after 40 minutes.
Oh yeah,
They
also
figured
they
out
say
that
that it's 40 minutes because the number 40 is significant in the Bible, which is
yes.
kind of fun. Like apparently demons read the Bible.
Yeah, this one has a lot of Bible mythology, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, supernatural in general, like,
Yeah.
bastardizes the Bible mythology. But, like, yeah, it's fascinating. And Dean being like, oh, it's biblical numerology. It's like, go, Dean.
Big words, Dean.
They figure out that the demon is going after survivors because it's trying to finish the job.
Right, so now we're in the Impala, and Sam is calling the or I guess six now. Sorry, Chuck. The six remaining survivors, impersonating the airline to find out which one of them, if any of them, are planning to take a flight soon, because, they're gonna get all demoned up. And they find that the only person who's gonna be on a plane again is the flight attendant who survived, Amanda Walker. And the flight that she's gonna go on is departing pretty
In
soon.
5 hours.
Yeah, less than 5 hours maybe. So Dean drives very, very fast to the airport because Amanda hasn't been picking up the phone, and they make it with 30 minutes to spare. So Dean decides to call a phone in the airport to get to Amanda's gate so he can trick her into not getting on the flight. He tells her that her sister is in the hospital, but Amanda sees through it because she had just called her sister 5 minutes ago. And yeah, Amanda's also suspicious. She's like, how did you even know I was like here at this gate? And then I guess she suspects that this is a friend of Vince, who I'm assuming is like a boyfriend she's on the outs with.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm assuming that's her ex.
yeah, Dean plays along with it and says that like Vince really wants to see her tonight. And she says no, but seems open to restarting a thing with Vince when Dean tells her that he's an emotional mess over their breakup. And then yeah, Amanda hangs up. And then we see that there's the demonic black cloud in the vents. It's closing in.
So Sam says they have no choice. They have to get on the plane, and Dean looks visibly distraught. And then Sam asks him if he is okay, etc. And Dean is like, no, not really. I have an issue with. And Sam says, you have an issue with flying? You're joking, right? And Dean is like, you know, he's really playing up the I'm a scared little boy
Yeah.
act. And he's like, do I look like I'm joking? Why do you think I drive everywhere? And I was like, because you're poor, Dean. That's why you drive everywhere. And then Sam's like, well, I can do it by myself. And Dean's like, fuck no, you're not gonna do it by yourself. So they go on the plane together. So we go to the plane, right? And Sam's just saying to Dean, try to relax, Dean. Just try to relax. And Dean's like, just try to shut up. So I was like, that's very funny.
Yeah.
And then the plane takes off while Dean looks, very unrelaxed.
So, yeah, we're still on the plane, and Dean's humming Metallica to calm down. And then they discuss the case, and I guess we find out, is this lore consistent? Or does it keep going? Because apparently Dean says that, like, demons are more likely to be able to possess you if you, like, have,
Are
like,
vulnerable.
if you're emotionally vulnerable or have an addiction, which I think is interesting when we get to the demon blood storyline.
I don't know how, because, like, at that point, it's not like they can get possessed because they have the tattoo, right?
That's true.
But
That's true.
at this point, they still don't have the tattoo, so
Yeah,
they
yeah,
can get possessed. I was thinking during this scene that, like, obviously the next step, like, I remember thinking way back that, like,
yeah.
obviously the next step is like Dean gets possessed because
Uh-huh.
he obviously has a weakness, right? Like, he's very scared.
Yeah,
But the story doesn't go there. But it would have
yeah.
been interesting if they're like,
It could
it
have
would
been
have been
interesting.
predictable, I guess, so they didn't do it. But
Yeah, or maybe they just decided that Jensen Ackles doesn't have the range because as a Dean Kinney, he can only play Dean. Yeah, so they decide that they should check if Amanda's the one who's possessed. And they were Dean says that he's gonna test her using holy water, and Sam says, no, we should check by seeing if she'll flinch at the name of God. And then we have a fun little exchange where Dean turns to go several times. Each time Sam is like, hey, wait, remember that you have to say it in Latin. Hey, wait, remember it's Christo.
And
And
Dean's like, fucking
I,
hell, Sam.
yeah, I
Like,
know,
I'm
I'm
not
not an
stupid.
idiot.
Yeah, okay, so Dean goes up to Amanda and talks to her a little bit about being a nervous flyer. And then Dean says Christo in a coughing manner, and she doesn't flinch. And then when she asks him, like, oh, did you say something? He could have easily just said no, right? But he,
Yeah.
like, went and repeated Christo like a fool. And she was like, what is going on? I was like, this Dean is, like, I guess because he's on a plane and he's afraid, like, they're playing him out to be a bit more, like, out of it than
Yeah.
usual. It's quite funny.
Yeah,
But I
he's a
would say,
silly, goofy
though,
guy.
this whole segment, I'm just gonna get it out of the way because there's a lot of comedy parts in this episode, right? Like
Mm.
Dean makes scared faces, etc., etc. The whole time, I was not thinking that, like, this is Dean and he's afraid. I was thinking this is Jensen Ackles acting. I don't know how to describe it. I think this is the only episode of Supernatural where that happens for me, where I'm like,
Huh.
this is a man acting, pretending to be Dean. Because, like, usually, like, when a character is playing a character, I just accept it as, like, oh, this is the character, especially in Supernatural where the characters are so fleshed out and you see them for
Right.
so long. But this episode specifically, I was like, this is Jensen Ackles acting because, like, the face that he makes when he's pressed up against the plane when the plane was crashing, I was like,
Oh my god, wait, yeah, no, I remember making a note of that face.
yeah, it was funny, but, like, I was like, this is them, like, this is like the Ghost Facers effect, or however that works. I actually don't know what the Ghost Facers effect means.
Yeah, I guess I didn't get that much of an impression, but I guess I did feel like his fear of flying was a bit pointless in that, like, I know that real people don't have, like, backstories for all of their phobias, but you'd think for a character like that this would connect to some kind of, like, larger character moment or larger trauma, but, like, there's not really anything. Dean's just scared of flying, like, but we don't know why. They
I
never
like
tell us
that. I
why.
actually like that about the whole thing, that, like, he's just afraid of flying and, like, we don't know why. Because, like,
Yeah.
it expands his character. It lets us take a look at, like, oh, this is a fully fleshed out character. And, like, while I was thinking that, my in the back of my mind, like, a voice was going, and Sam's character traits, like,
And Sam's compliment?
yeah, exactly. I was
Yeah.
like,
No,
why does
exactly.
Dean get to have these,
Yeah.
like, innocuous character traits, and Sam is literally just sitting and being like, I
Yeah.
guess because he's supposed to be irrational, so they can't give him the airplane phobia.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, yeah, they just make Sam like a completely neutral figure who Dean like plays off of by having a personality. Seems to be what they're doing with the writing, and that's annoying.
So Dean goes back to his seat and it's like, well, she's gotta be the most well-adjusted person in the world. And Sam's like, oh, damn it. She's not the diva, and what are we gonna do? And then we get some turbulence, and Dean starts freaking out some more. And he's really freaking out now. And he's like, this plane is gonna crash, and you're telling me to relax? What, are you insane? And then Sam brings up the very, very, very excellent point that if Dean is panicked, he might get possessed. So he needs to calm down. And I was like, go Sam. Sam uses, like, a very specific voice with Dean. Like he's talking to a very small child.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sam uses this voice a lot when he's, like, talking to other people, which...
Yeah, like when he's interviewing witnesses and stuff.
Yeah, which, like, I guess it's his customer service voice, right?
Oh,
But,
yeah.
like, it does give this an air of, like, being not genuine, you know? because like Dean's voice is the same all throughout. Like whoever he's talking to, the humor is the same, everything is the same. But
Mm.
Sam is able to change personas, I guess.
Yeah.
So it makes this
Yeah.
air of like Sam is better
Right.
adjusted, but also Dean is more honest. Like that
Right.
kind
Well,
of
if Sam was gonna
divide.
be a lawyer, he definitely has to be able to put on personas.
Yeah, exactly. So Dean starts doing he starts doing breathing exercises, which I support. I also do breathing exercises. They're very effective. But
Yeah.
like this scene was very funny to me. But I can't explain why. Like you have to watch the scene when he starts doing the breathing exercise to find it funny. I feel like
It's just quite exaggerated, I suppose.
yeah, this is what I'm saying where it's
It's Jensen
like
playing
Dean
Dean.
turns from a real person into a like fictional character that is being played by Jensen Ackles.
Mm. Yeah.
So Sam explains that an exorcism is a two-parter. So the first part is to make the demon manifest, which actually makes the demon stronger. And the second part is to make the demon go back to hell. So yeah.
Yeah. Forever, apparently. Like it can't leave afterwards?
I don't know. I
Right,
don't
because he
think he
says it
says
sends it
forever.
back to hell once and for all, which makes it seem like it can't leave afterwards.
Well, I'm
But I
pretty
don't
sure that
know.
gets broken
Yeah,
in
no,
canon
that
in a
definitely
few
is not.
seasons.
That yeah, the lore gets changed. Um, so now Dean's trying to find the demon by walking up and down the plane with the EMF meter, but found nobody. And then the co-pilot leaves the bathroom and the EMF meter starts beeping. Dean tries Christo out on him, and the co-pilot has black eyes, and they're like, ah, found the demon. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
So they decide to enlist Amanda's help. They go find her, they close the curtain and talk to her. And yeah, they tell her that they know that the previous flight she was on crashed. They know that something caused that. Um, they need her help to stop it. They tell her about Chuck being dead. And Amanda tells them about, yeah, seeing the black eyes of the demon on the first flight, and Dean asks her to bring the co-pilot over to them, and Amanda resists a bit first because she might be fired, but eventually agrees to do it.
So she goes towards the cabin. This plane is very short.
Yeah.
And asks the co-pilot to come to the back, which he does, and then Dean punches the guy. He punches him down and tapes his mouth closed. So
Mm-hmm.
Sam starts pouring holy water on the demon, and this demon's skin starts sizzling.
Yeah.
And then Sam starts the exorcism, and they get tossed around a little bit, etc., etc.
Mm.
And then the demon stops Sam by
Yep.
saying the following, and this is important. He says,
Mm-hmm.
I know what happened to your girlfriend. She must have died screaming. Even now, she's burning. So Sam is obviously fazed by this, but he continues the exorcism, and the demon manifests and goes to the plane, which starts fucking crashing.
Yep.
So Sam is on the floor, he's trying to get the journal, while Dean is on the side of the plane making funny faces.
Yep.
This is Sam's compliment. Sam knows how to exercise a demon, while
Yeah.
Dean just stands in the corner, mortified. So
Mm-hmm.
Sam finally gets the journal and he finishes the exorcism and succeeds, and the plane is normal again.
Yay. So now we're at an airport, and there are various authorities interviewing people and like providing medical assistance. It turns out that the co-pilot doesn't remember anything from his moment of demonic possession. Also, I know, okay, he's wrapped in a blanket so we can't see, but like, do you think that the burns from the holy water are still on him?
I suppose not, but like They were like so intense. They seeped through
Yeah,
the skin, right?
yeah, and also like they burned through his shirt.
They
Like I
tore through
don't,
the clothes, I
yeah,
mean.
like I feel like there would still be holes in his shirt. Like, wouldn't they want to like get to the bottom of that?
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
mm,
I don't know. Yeah, and then yeah, they see Amanda who like mouths thank you at them. And Dean and Sam start heading out. Sam says Dean knew about Jessica, and Dean says like, "Oh, it was just like reading your mind and lying, right? Like it's fine." Sam doesn't seem to want to believe it. Well, he doesn't seem to believe it entirely, but he acquiesces. Then they're out of the airport and they're talking to Jerry again, and he says that their dad would be proud of them. And then Dean asks Jerry how he got his cell phone number because it's a new phone. And Jerry says, "Oh, like I got it from your dad. I didn't talk to him, but when I called him about this whole thing, he had a voice, like his voicemail said to like give you a call and put your new number in," and then leaves. And Sam and Dean are kind of in shock because
yeah.
Sam says, like, yeah, every time I've called dad, like, it says that his phone is out of service.
Sam and Dean call John's phone, and the voicemail does say to call Dean. And Sam is so visibly upset. Like, poor kid. He has
Yeah,
tears in his eyes,
yep,
and he's so like angry, I suppose.
yeah,
And then he goes into the car, and Dean goes into the car, and we see our first shot, I think, where we see the plate number, the iconic plate number, KAZ2Y5, as Sam and Dean drive off into the day, and the
yeah,
episode ends.
yeah. Ugh,
I like
boo.
this episode because, again, the no Dean misogyny moments, and also
Yeah,
it's not any brother centric. Like, I
yeah,
think they both have equal footing in terms of what they're doing in the thing,
I
which I
agree.
like.
Yeah, and I like the additions we get to the John plot.
Crystal, what's your best line of this episode?
Um, I like what the demon said to Sam specifically, like that Jess, even now she's burning, 'cause, you know, it's very delicious thinking about how Jess, despite being a good person, like is in hell now probably and is being tortured forever
For the crime of loving Sam Winchester.
for the crime of loving Sam Winchester.
Yeah.
What's your best
Uh,
line?
I think my best line was Dean's, like, you can't bring it home like that,
Mm,
because like, I think that entire conversation was very genuine and very touching, like in terms of like brother relationship, because
mm,
it's like one of the few times where they're actually honest about their feelings. And Dean giving that advice to Sam, like he was obviously trying to comfort him.
yeah,
Does it work? Probably not, but like I appreciate the gesture.
yeah.
So what's your worst line?
The exorcism in total because Sam's Latin pronunciation is not good.
That's true. I actually don't have one, so I'm just gonna put my cart on your cart, or however that saying goes.
Yeah, sounds
and
good.
and I'll
Sounds
say
good.
the exorcism, because he's shouting it in the middle of the plane while the plane is crashing.
Hmm.
Like that must have been weird for the like lady beside him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then like afterwards when the authorities are like interviewing people on the plane, like you think at any point people were like, while the plane was crashing, there was some weird man shouting Latin. And as soon as he stopped shouting Latin, the plane
The plane
stopped
stopped.
crashing.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my god, I still haven't looked up the IMDb. Okay,
Oh,
so for our Guess the IMDb Rating segment, what do you think is the IMDb rating of this episode?
um, okay, I feel like this episode was interesting to us because it's like our first introduction to demons and like we sort of knew know what's gonna happen. I feel like maybe to the average viewer it's like not that interesting. Like I feel like the case was not particularly intriguing.
Yeah,
At least
especially
so.
the repetition of the
Yeah.
exposition was like very tiring. And it took me, you know this, but it took me so long to watch this episode
Yeah.
because I was just like getting bored and like dozing off and like losing focus. It's not an episode that catches your attention.
So I'm gonna say 7.5.
7.5, that's very low. I would
Yeah, I mean,
say,
because I've shot way too high on previous things, so I'm gonna shoot lower than I think it should be on this one and
okay,
see if
I'll
that
shoot a
works
bit
out.
higher for the both of us and say a 7.9.
All right.
Okay, let's look it up. 8.2.
Oh God, we were both so wrong.
I guess the like funny faces worked.
Yeah, I guess because people don't know Dean as well, or like they're just watching a CW show for funsies. Yeah, they probably do like that Dean is scared of flying and makes a stupid little screamy face.
Okay. Any other thoughts before we disappear?
Not not necessarily though. I am looking forward to the Sam centricity of the next episode, I believe,
That is
right?
true. Yeah. I was gonna mention that. Like, I
Yeah,
was like,
finally
a
Sam
while ago, I was like, I
gets
keep
his
on
moment.
complaining about Sam and him not being able to do anything. But, like, next episode, we're gonna have a Sam centric episode, so it's fine.
Sam time, Sam time, Sam time.
Okay, so that's it for this episode of Plus the Asian Beauties. Next time, we will be talking about Season 1, Episode 5, Bloody Mary.
Woo! Follow us on social media. We are on Twitter at twitter.com/beautiespodcast and on Tumblr at bustyasianbeautiespod.tumblr.com.
So you can email us any feedback, comments, or inquiries at bustyasianbeautiespod@gmail.com. If you're a STEM major, do contact us.
Yeah, can you see
About the
sulfur? Can you
sulfur.
tell that something's sulfur under a microscope? Help,
Yeah,
please.
help us. So, yeah, that's it. See you guys next time.
Bye.